Okay.
Money. I'll leave. All right, everybody, how are we doing today? My name is Corey, and this is the War Within podcast, episode 3. I'm here with Forrest Lang. You want to tell me a little bit about yourself there, buddy? Give me a little intro.
Okay, so I'm 40 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, getting up there, brother. I grew up in Oxnard, California. I'm a survivor of the foster care system.
Oh, jeez, I didn't know that.
Yes.
That's deep.
And I experienced teen homelessness at 16 and was very prone to addiction and alcoholism at that age. I am an adult survivor of molestation and child abuse. And I'm also a combat veteran. I joined the Navy when I was 18 and I became a medical corpsman. I have one deployment to Iraq in 2004 with 3rd Battalion, 24th Marines, Lima Company. Hope I said that right. I always fuck that up for those Marines.
It's a tongue twister.
Yeah, I was never really into all the acronyms. I also am an anonymous member of a few 12-step programs that I won't identify by name. And therefore I can maintain my own personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and film. But we will talk about one of those today.
That'd be great.
And I have been hurt in every possible way that any human being could be hurt on this earth. And I have learned how to not be married to my story, to still have my story, but not live in it. And how to be a successful, happy, whole, healthy, powerful, intelligent, creative person. And how to be a servant leader, and how to connect with others, and how to teach others to connect with others, which is the really the best way I've ever found to share a message, is to teach others to share it. So that is my gift, and there's big things ahead, big things coming. And I'm also a tattooer. And I have a beautiful daughter. She's 11 years old. And I have the most gorgeous fiancée on the planet. She's my queen. She is my confidant. She is my partner. She is my favorite human. And yeah, that's me.
I think that's important to have in a fiancé.
Yeah, that's me in a walnut shell.
So I have to broach the subject because. So for everybody listening out there, Forrest and I have a little bit of a history. 2.5 years ago, I think it was that it was 3 years ago. Yeah, craziness. So the Forrest you hear and see before you is not the Forrest that I met at that time. And I'm sure Forrest could say the exact same thing about myself as well. We were pretty much, I think you were maybe a few months ahead of me, but we were pretty much in the darkest of the dark right when we met each other. I would not have been hearing these types of words coming out of your mouth. I wouldn't have been hearing the energy that or feeling the energy that you're pushing off right now. You wouldn't have been saying any of these things. Life was literally miserable. There's points where
I got kicked in the balls.
Oh, absolutely.
So did you.
Oh, absolutely. It was, yeah. I mean, looking back at it now, though, I really look at it as a gift. Like, it was just an amazing part of my journey for me to transform. But, yeah, we were not these people that we're talking about right now then. We were, I would say 180 degrees opposite. We were living in this victimhood type of mentality. We were telling ourselves this story that we've been told our entire lives about our own value and who we are. We didn't have any belief. Well, I don't want to say we. I don't know exactly what was going through your head personally all the time. But we believed that we were stuck and we were trapped in that moment, and that it was going to be something that endured the remainder of our lives, because that was how things were led up to that point. Would you mind telling me a little bit about what was going through your mind? What was going on? What were you feeling? What were some of the symptoms, I guess?
Before I met you, I had a series of events, and essentially when I got into my late 20s, I decided that I was going to live the good old American dream.
Right.
And that I was going to I already had my daughter, and I was going to have a beautiful wife, a house, cars, motorcycles, own my own tattoo shop, be the go-to guy if
Right.
you needed to borrow some money
Right.
or if you needed some support,
Be your own
and be a
boss.
figurehead in
Absolutely.
my community. And there was something really, 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 really missing in that point in my life, and I was slowly walking around fucking dying. And I looked good on the outside, or at least I perceived myself as looking good on the outside. And on the inside, I mean, I would be out in public and smile, happy, blah, blah, blah. And when I would get home, I would just kind of sink inside. I would go far away. I would go away to places that I went when traumas were happening. So a good way to describe that would be like when I was 11 or 12 and I was getting molested. I wouldn't be present. I would disassociate and go elsewhere.
Right.
And I never learned how to shut that off. I did the same thing in the war when things were awful. And I did the same thing after I accidentally killed my best friend. I became flat and I disappeared and I went somewhere safe. And that place was so familiar to me that I didn't even know that I was doing it. And my fiance would tell me that I was disappearing. Where are you? I never get to spend any time with you. And I'd be like, we spend time together every fucking day.
Right.
Like, I sleep next to you. I wake up with you, and I do this, I do that with you. And she's like, but we never spend any time together. And I didn't understand what she was talking about, but I was disassociated away
Right.
from her. And when I had met you, I had just finished Save a Warrior, the initiation process that you went through as well.
Right.
And before I had done that, it felt like somebody reached into my chest and there was a piano string connecting from the base of my skull all the way down to my asshole,
Okay.
basically. And somebody had pulled this piano string and it was vibrating.
Yeah.
And I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I couldn't focus. I was no longer effective at work. My woman left. My business was failing. I was in this victim status where all my friends were betraying me.
Right.
And I had to push everybody away or else I would hurt them. And I was just in this really, really, really dark place. I lost 40 pounds in 30 days. I lost 2 teeth. And I lost more teeth after that. And so when I went through Save a Warrior, I became an initiated man. What people who maybe have gone through MKP or
Mankind Project for those of you guys out there listening.
LifeSpring or any of these initiatory processes, Sparta, Warriors Ascent, and I became initiated into a tribe. And we can talk more about initiation if you want or after. So I was just out of that, I believe, when I met you.
Yeah.
And so when I met you, one of my club brothers called me up and he said, hey, I've got this Marine who he's stuck in San Diego. He came to pick up a vehicle.
At an impound.
Yeah, and has nowhere to sleep tonight. Will you take care of him? And I was sleeping in the attic of my tattoo shop at the time. And I was like, fuck yeah, bring him over. And it was you, and you were bigger than me. And I was like,
I looked a
okay.
little bit more wild. I was way more scruffy living in the woods.
You weren't scary, but you were a little bigger. So I was like, this guy. And I remember going upstairs and giving you like one of those green army cots to sleep on that I had there. And I had an air mattress in the attic. And I was like, you're not going to try to hurt me while I'm sleeping here, are you? Like, well, cool.
And I was like, no, are you going to try to do that to me? Because I was totally freaked out. I was at fight or flight mode constantly, living in that state constantly. So I was like, oh shit. And then when you said that, I was like, huh. All right, cool.
Yeah. And we survived. We both survived the night. And so I was early in my journey with initiation and meditation and transformation at that point. It started for me very young, and I've been seeking my whole life. And I'm not the type of person that's very good at faking it until I make it.
Right.
I want the fucking truth.
Absolutely.
And I'm not willing to settle for anything less than truth. And so there's a lot of untruth
for sure.
in the status
You open
quo.
a lot of doors.
Yeah.
You end up opening a lot of doors and realizing, shit, this isn't it.
And I've also realized that there's a difference between learning something and knowing something.
Absolutely.
Because once I know something, I'm no longer open to learning anything else.
Yeah.
So I continue to learn about myself inside and out, about the world around me, on these different journeys that I take.
Excellent. You know, that night was the first time that someone had ever broken down meditation for me. And I remember sitting there. I think I had tried to meditate before that, but at that point in time, I was so against it. You know, I kept feeling like the universe was telling me, meditate, meditate. And there was a lot of stuff going on inside of me where I was just like, no. Like, I continued to talk myself out of it because it wasn't manly. I thought fags meditated. Literally, like, that's what I'd say. I'd be like, oh, fags meditate.
I'm
Hippies.
a fag. I mean, I've sucked a dick before, so I just want you to know. Fucking homophobic ass marine.
But you got to remember, you got to understand what the mentality was at this point in time. Yeah. And this is something that I'm trying to also discuss here, is like breaking down those kinds of machismo types of aspects when it comes to things that are really good at helping you out with healing and the positions that we had found ourselves in. But yeah, I mean, it was difficult. There was points and times where I had to open my eyes because I literally still thought you were going to try to kill me. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's one thing I definitely want to get into and discuss today is...
Well, I'll break it down real quick how I broke it down for you, and then you can chime in with what you've learned. Because we started pretty much the same time on this path. I mean...
Yeah, you're a couple months ahead of me.
Yeah, just a couple. That's nothing.
Right.
So what I learned, the most important thing about meditation for me, when somebody explained it to me, is to, A, quit being a fucking sissy, right? Mm-hmm. Because most of the people who had taught meditation to me... At that point, in the place I was at, because I'm in a different place today, I couldn't hear what they said because it was so soft. It was so, it's okay, like a soft voice, and you know, go to a nice quiet room, and if you have to move, it's okay. And just do the best you can, and anything is meditating. And to me, I had to hear someone go, "Quit being a bitch and hold your fucking body still for 20 minutes." Like, I know you can do that. I know you've done that. I know for a fact that you've stood at attention for longer than 20 minutes.
Right. We were used to, at that point in time, having that authoritative figure punch through, because that's what we were accustomed to. We needed to hear that.
And that's what I heard from Jake Sweat, actually, who's my man. I love that guy.
Oh, yeah, Jake Sweat.
Yeah.
Singing about another Jake, sorry.
Fucking good dude.
Yeah,
good
Jake
dude.
Sweat's awesome.
Yeah.
Hopefully you're listening, mofo.
Oh, I doubt it. He's probably hanging out with his girlfriend on the beach. I hope he's hanging out with his girlfriend on the beach and his little dog.
Yeah, right.
But so for me, meditation is the practice of holding my body still, absolutely still, and focusing on my breath. That's it.
Okay.
Holding my physical body still, being in the world that I'm in, because it's not always quiet, it's not always perfect, there's not always candles and bubble baths and unicorns and blowjobs when meditation's happening.
Absolutely.
I live in the city, man. Car alarms go off, helicopters fly overhead, the police looking for some missing 80-year-old lady,
for sure.
A car crash, the dog's barking.
Someone's going to drive by with loud-ass music and bass.
If I'm at the place where we do the Sparta meeting, I mean, there's guys in there screaming at the top of their lungs, and the next room
cheering
talking about
or
football or
absolutely.
some meaningless, no offense if you love football, means nothing to me.
Right.
So it's being present where I am is what meditation is, because that's the ultimate goal, is to be present right now. Because when I'm worried about what time it is, where I need to be tomorrow, what happened yesterday, I'm not living. I'm not even alive. Right. I'm dying slowly.
For sure.
If I'm in this moment right now, this is all there is. This is it. This is where, like, utopia is. This is where, and talking about it, I get to come absolutely present with you. Right now.
Absolutely.
Talking about now. Time isn't even a real thing. Time is something that we use to measure the past and predict the future. We are really always now. And that's meditation. Now.
I got that. When I first started, I slightly described that as I was meditating with you. I had never really sat with myself before. I was very much used to looking for other things to pull me away from the chaos that I had going on within myself, or even identifying with who I was. Does it make any sense?
Yes.
So when I'd sit down and I'd finally taken time to give myself time to myself, making myself a priority, I didn't realize how little I understood about who I am and what my operating systems were and how they were driving within my own self. when I first started meditating.
Hold on. I want to back up because
Yeah.
you talk about your operating systems that are within yourself. I want you, even if you've done it before on this podcast, because identification is powerful. So we're not married to our story, right? We're not living our story, but the story is important. So those mechanisms and all that stuff, where did that come from? Just briefly. Tell me about
Mechanisms of what?
little Corey, what little Corey experienced up until little Corey went to the war and then afterwards.
For sure. So, little Corey, I believe, learned that he held no value and that he wasn't allowed to show emotion and he wasn't allowed to have any type of need.
Vulnerability.
There was zero vulnerability, right?
Yeah.
And then it was to the point where I could also barely even share my opinions on anything. So it was lock every type of feeling that you have down. And it was very reminiscent also being in the military, because at this point in time, I was just being used for my physical aspects. I became more vocal after I obviously left my house and I saw things that were going on that were wrong. And that, in a way, put a target on my back as well to be beaten again, but in, I guess, a more bureaucratic way, where people would gang up on me because they wanted me to just shut up, fall in line, do what I was told and just be again. So feelings, knowledge, logic, rationale, all of that was not allowed as well. War, I felt, actually was probably one of the greatest situations I ever found myself in, because it was very much truth, right? It was either kill or be killed. It was eat or don't eat. Does it make sense? Clean your weapon.
Take a shower every 2 weeks. It was wonderful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then ultimate brotherly love. You knew the guy to the right and to the left of you was living his life to serve you as well. So
the same way you were serving them.
Absolutely. So it was just this beautiful
tribe.
Absolutely. My story after I got out was exactly what you stated. When I got out, I put on this persona. I put on this mask of being the man, right? I had saved up about $250,000 while I was in. I said, screw it, I'm going to be my own boss. I'm going to be the leader of my little pack that I make. I'm going to be the guy that everyone goes to. I had the cars. I had the motorcycle. And I was pushing my gym to be the best gym in the country, and I was becoming pretty popular within the CrossFit world and such.
CrossFit.
Yeah, no, right? Curse word.
Sorry, I shouldn't talk shit.
No.
Way out of shape.
There's some stuff associated with that as well. We'll save that for another day.
Vegan barbecue truck. Go ahead.
So, I ended up having, I guess, like a spiritual awakening due to cannabis use, and it was a cornucopia as well as from getting off of my medication and going through withdrawal from that pharmaceutical medication, on top of a whole bunch of other stuff. It was a perfect cornucopia of events to occur where it just launched me into looking at the bullshit of my past, everything that I had buried for so long, and
so
avoiding
it consumes
myself.
us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I broke. And like I said, I think it was probably one of the greatest things that could have happened.
Well, thank you.
Hey.
And I want to just mention something really quick about vulnerability since it came up. And what me and you are doing right now is being vulnerable to the world.
Absolutely.
And sharing ourselves. And I'll tell you guys, that's not an easy thing to do. It's a little scary, and it's a little bit, fears come up. Like my fear is irrelevance, right?
Yeah.
So I'm irrelevant. Is the fear immediately? My brain's and one of the things I learned about, that voice, that shame, that ego, the asshole, the disease, the nerds, whatever they are, whatever people call them, the shadow that come up, is that it loves to be right. And sometimes in my life, my ego would rather be right than me succeed. So the way for me to combat that is to acknowledge it. To acknowledge that, as right now I'm talking with you and looking at this screen and being on this podcast, I've got some fear and stuff coming up.
Right.
Talking. And especially after sharing myself, and I'm sure you're having some of the same stuff.
Absolutely.
And, the superhero of vulnerability, Brene Brown, I love one of the things that she said is that the difference that people who have a strong sense of love and belonging in the world and are connected and are able to be vulnerable and are able to feel like they belong is that they feel like they deserve it. That's the only thing. Like,
yeah, for sure.
I am because I fucking say I am. You know, and so that's another thing that I've realized going through meditation and learning, you know, about all these things from my past, my story, all this stuff that like has put me in a place in the past of setting myself up for failure, of playing small, of feeling like I don't deserve.
Right.
It's just a matter of changing perception and focus and statements, you know. I started doing that. I mean, and I learned slow, man. It takes me, you know, like I'm hard to knock out too.
Yeah, for sure.
And, you know, it started with me when I was 23 years old, looking in the mirror and saying, "I love you, Forrest." That was the very first, and that was hard to do. I did not want to say that.
How difficult is that?
Dude, I did not want to say that because when I looked in the mirror, I thought, I hate you, you motherfucker.
Right, you're gross.
Fuck you, you're fucking
gross.
ugly, dude.
Yeah.
You're stupid. Look at all you're a fuck up, you're worthless.
Right.
And so for me to vocalize, I love you. And that was 37. That was 13 years ago. And today, it's to the point where I can look at you and I can look at you and I can say that I'm powerful, that I'm intelligent, that I'm creative, that I'm a man of integrity, that I'm a man of commitment, that I have high moral standards, that I serve others, that I'm important,
right,
that I serve a purpose on this planet, that I am empathetic, I'm a good father, I'm a good fiance, I'm a good worker amongst workers, I'm a servant leader, I'm a good leader.
Yeah.
I know how to lead.
Right.
And I can't imagine ever even fathoming that at 23, that I would ever be that man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I would be like, oh, shucks. Somebody said something nice about me. Oh, you couldn't even look
Right.
him in the
I
eyes.
have to be super humble too and not allow to receive these gifts.
And that's not even humility. Man.
I agree with you.
That's not. That's low self-esteem. And there's a difference. Self-esteem has to do with the heart. Ego has to do with the head.
For sure.
You know,
Yeah,
and they're both important. You know, my ego is as the great Phil Folsom said, my ego is a foot soldier, not a general.
right.
Right.
I would say that before I was allowing my ego to completely dictate and control. He was the general. The ego was completely the general. And going through I don't know how many different types of groups and different types of processes and such. I would say what turned it around was, well, I experienced countless amounts of ego deaths just from my cannabis use and some of the stuff that I'd go through with that. But I would also say that my ayahuasca experience played a gigantic role in that as well. And then my processes through that 2.5 years of going through everything, I would say what ended up happening was I completely shed my ego. Completely. But then I realized that I also hated my ego in that time frame. And since then, there's been a lot more integration of bringing the ego back in, but realizing how much of it is actually necessary for me to run my life. So now it's much less. I'm no longer doing things to feed my ego or to present to people. It's more so of like, hey, you're a tool. It's just like Facebook. I quit Facebook for a long time. I was like, this is fucking evil, it's bullshit, all this other stuff. But then after a little while, I had to realize, like, look at this amazing tool, right? I don't need to sit there and feed my ego with it and look at other people and how they're living their lives. But what I do need to do is I need to look at this as a tool and
what you
realize,
get to do.
Right.
What
Absolutely.
you get to do.
Absolutely.
Not what you need to do.
Okay,
Go
what I get to do.
Yeah.
Sure. I'll have to listen to that one again and figure out what I did wrong there.
I mean, it's nothing wrong.
Yeah.
You know?
But no, I agree with you, though. I think correcting language and how it's perception, like what you're talking about. The way that I put these words out there is the way that I'm portraying myself, and it's also a reflection of how I portray myself as well.
And I get to do the same thing. I get to use Facebook for good.
Right.
Because Facebook, on some levels, is a goddamn cesspool.
Absolutely.
Of, you know, I was watching this funny video that Kristen shared with me the other day, and it was this guy who didn't have any social media, and it was like the dating nightmare. So this woman meets this man, and she's talking to him. She says, so when you have an opinion, how do you share it? He says, oh, I suppose I just share it with the person nearest to me. And she's like, didn't know like what to.
She couldn't look him up and find his profile and stalk him or anything like that
Yeah,
and figure out who he was.
and we spend so much time shouting at the world, complaining about things on these like platforms that are amazing.
Right.
And I mean, Facebook is fucking beautiful. Okay. The amount of energy and intelligence and innovation, ingenuity, hard work. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg or whatever the hell that guy's name is, that guy's a fucking genius.
For sure.
You know, the thing that he made. And
Right.
and we have a tendency, I love Louis C.K. too, because he has this skit where people say they hate Verizon. They're like, oh, I hate Verizon, you know, and they talked into the phone and rocketed this fucking stupid thing into space that they had to fucking say, and it
Right,
took like
right.
more than a millisecond to get there. People, fat fucks, are complaining about it. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? Who the fuck are you? What did you ever create? So, you know, I hate Facebook. I hate social media. No. What I hate is the way it's used.
Right.
And, you know, in my pocket, I have this machine that...
Fucking supercomputer.
Yeah, in my pocket.
Yeah.
All the information in the world, right there.
That
in my
mankind
pocket.
has ever uncovered.
Yeah.
Right there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
And
I was watching some kind of video about that earlier, some kind of quote about it, so I want to give credit where credit
of course,
yeah.
us fat, addicted, lazy,
Yeah.
freaking... in debt,
Egotistical.
ego-driven Americans, spoiled.
Yeah, for sure.
We're sitting here, it's a thing to complain about.
not good enough. Yeah,
You know,
Yeah, for sure.
what a mess, dude.
Well, I think this is something that we have to understand too going into the future. I love talking about the future because obviously, you know, that's what we want to do as servant leaders is we want to be able to educate people on how to hope.
The future.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we can see the ugly side now, what I like to call the darkness of technology. We had to see that before we started to fully understand the implications of, well, using tools in their proper forms. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like what's going on. I don't really want to get into the gun debate right now, but we need to understand that there's tools out there that provide good, but then there's also, and this is such a used term, a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah.
No, sir.
Chance, get down. Chance, lay down.
Yeah, so I think that's gigantic.
I want to talk about that. You said you didn't want to get into that. So what I want to talk about is the division, the incredible division happening right now, where it's almost to a point where right now, if you wanted to talk about guns, you almost cringed because of the argument
Absolutely.
that's happening in the United States. So if you're in any way pro-gun, that must mean that you're a Trump-supporting, conservative, racist, white asshole, right?
Right, absolutely.
And then if you're against guns, that means you must be a fucking hippy-dippy, skinny
Well,
jeans, man bun pussy.
You're progressive.
Yeah.
You are the flag of progress in America.
So it's almost like if I say anything that has any opinion that aligns with what people perceive as the right, somebody wants to shove a rebel flag in my arms and set me on fire, right? And if I say anything that would identify with the left, somebody else wants to shove a freaking Antifa flag in my hand and freaking...
And label you.
hang me up by the balls, and you know I'm obviously a homophobic, like whatever, you know. So I just really feel like we have enough information, and we all have our own mind and our own heart, and we don't need to divide ourselves against each other anymore. We really don't. It's time to have real conversations. I really don't think Republican and Democrat serves us anymore.
I agree.
don't think conservative and liberal serves us anymore. And I think it's all time for us to look right here and stop identifying with these separative types of things. Because I'll tell you, I didn't vote for Donald Trump, man.
Right.
And I own a gun. And I had an accident with a gun. And you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's a tool.
Right.
I also have friends that are cops. And I have friends that are outlaws. And I just see, I don't see, because somebody's wearing a Raiders jersey and I like the Chargers.
Right.
I don't see why we can't have a conversation about it.
Agreed.
And if I drank, have a beer together. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
But there's this massive division happening right now over every issue, and there's a lot of blame happening. And blame is just a way to discharge negative emotion. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Because when something bad happens, we look for someone to blame, like with the shooting that just happened, right? The shooter's dead. So now everybody's freaking out looking for somebody to blame. They want to blame the security. They want to blame the hotel. They want to blame a political agenda. And shit, the truth is we don't know. We don't know what happened. We don't know what was in that man's head.
Well, the thing that drives me crazy, though, is this. When the statistics of this tool are put out there and it shows that it's far less dangerous than almost everything that we use today that we look at as not being dangerous, but other people want to still continue down this path of cognitive dissonance, right? So that's one of the reasons why I chose not to, or I didn't want to get into this, is because people like what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And this is the direction I'll take this conversation, is people in today's world buy into an image, and they buy into an image and they buy into the lump category of what it is. I am a liberal and I'm a progressive, so for every position that they've already labeled out, I have to follow these to the T. There's zero free thinking associated with it. There's zero education put into finding out whether or not the data lines up. There's no onus on the individual to look into any of that. They're just like, oh, it's blanketed. I can look at this. I can cover myself with this blanket, and it's okay. So now I can target that Raiders jersey over there, and I can say, bad.
I want to quote the great Michael Salonius on that one.
Let's hear it.
he sent out a bitch slap via social media last week.
You better be watching right now, too.
I hope you're in bed resting. He's not feeling good.
Oh, I'm sorry. Eat some chicken soup.
I don't know exactly the words, but he said, to my liberal friends, you claim you love nature and the outdoors, yet you're the most unfamiliar with the outdoors ever. And to my conservative friends, you claim to love freedom, but you tout, especially those of us that fought, you tout this tyrannical, fucking communist, totalitarian theology.
Right.
And he said, and you're both gross, and I'm ashamed of both of you.
I shared that post on I shared that once I saw that. I was like, man, that was very well said.
And I want to visit the gun issue just real quick.
Yeah, feel free.
And what I'll say, I believe is 100% true. We're not going to get rid of them. I wish we could. I wish there were no guns.
Okay.
I honestly do. I wish we went back to fighting wars with short swords.
Absolutely. It's more
Pandora
personal.
is out of the fucking box. The Americans will never let go of their guns.
Right.
Not going to happen.
Right.
You'll start at this point, you'll start a revolution, try to take the guns away.
Right.
So it's an invalid argument.
I agree.
I wish they weren't here. They are here.
Right.
We're not going to get rid of guns.
For sure.
It's not going to happen. So,
hey, that's pretty legit. I agree with that point. Oh, man. Well, I'm glad that you wanted to talk about this, to be honest with you. I was at the point where it's like, all right.
Well, we just talk about it from a different perspective.
For sure.
Right?
Absolutely. Take the charge away from it and bring a little bit more level-headedness to it. Yeah.
I mean, if somebody can figure out a way to get rid of all the guns and keep all the gun owners happy at the same time, like, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
But if we could get rid of all of them. It's like if we could get rid of all the nukes.
Right.
I'd be so stoked. That'd be awesome.
So what we should do is we should just make it mandatory that everybody learns how to sword fight again.
That'd be great. First Marine Division.
I'm not a fan of putting in any type of like.
So does the corpsman only get a dagger?
No, you get a sword too.
Okay.
Or a dildo.
A dildo? I could do a lot of damage with a dildo, dude. Especially if it's 3 feet.
Absolutely.
Why's it gotta be black, man?
Oh, those are the big ones. Whenever I think of just a large dildo, I just go right to Requiem for.
I'm sorry for all the mothers and ladies listening right now.
Hey, if you can't handle a dildo,
they can.
Exactly.
All right.
I'm glad we went off on that tangent.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. All right. So, man,
let's talk about Sparta.
You want to talk about Sparta?
Yeah, I want to.
I was going to go back to meditation.
Okay, go ahead.
I was just going to bring up one point again.
Cool, do it.
So that's where I was diverting
All
it.
right, it's your show, man.
Hey, man, you're the man. So I wanted to go back to how uncomfortable I was when I first started meditating. It's kind of where we went off on our tangent, whereas like me sitting there.
Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was sitting there and I was 2-3 minutes into my meditation thinking I'm doing it, completely wrong. I feel like a jackass, right? Still had that fag mentality too of like only fags.
Fag.
I have to. That's what was going through my mind. I I'm sharing it, brother.
It's not a nice
don't twist
word.
my language. I know. Hey, it's not a nice word. It's part of reality. You can't take the guns away, bro.
You can stop saying fag.
I could, but I'm telling you what was going through. It
marginalizes people.
I'm telling you what was going through my mind.
Okay.
I was marginalizing, brother.
Dude, I'm gonna hit you with an Antifa flag right now.
I know, man.
Go ahead.
Don't tread on me. So, 2-3 minutes in, too, I start having all of these nightmares of what's going to happen to me, right? The PTSD is still going on. Little did I know that this was literally just me being so disassociated with myself. I was scared of the monster kicking in the door. I literally thought that, government goons or whoever was going to kick in the door at that point in time, pointing guns at me and arrest me. My mind was freaking out. It was trying to draft up as much fear as possible for me to stop doing it. It was insane. So my question to you, I guess, with that is, did you experience anything like that?
Yeah. The first time I meditated, I was on the phone. God, what's his name? One of the Saw guys. I can't remember his name right now. I'm having a brain injury moment, but I remember he's this black guy, and he was on The War Comes Home, and he had this shirt that said "Do everything for yourself," and I read it two ways. First, it was like "Do everything for yourself," and it was like "Do everything for yourself," and then I read it a different way. It said "Do everything for yourself," and I thought it was really interesting that I made that shirt. And I was on the phone, and I had tunnel vision. And this guy, he called me on the phone. I think he was doing admissions for SAW. And he said, do you have a minute? You want to sit down and do a meditation with me? And I had tears streaming down my face when I sat down. And this guy was guiding me through this meditation. I was so crazy.
Right.
It was so crazy.
Right.
And I managed, he told me to hold still. And I held still. And I sat there. And then when I went up to Malibu and Mike was teaching us a meditation, I hurt so bad and I was so nuts that I had to lay down to meditate. It was the only way I could be still because my back was just in a bunch of pain.
Right.
And the first experience with me was very difficult to be still, but I was so desperate. And at that point, I would have done anything to feel better, even up until almost ending my life, to end how I was feeling at the time. And so I was in such a state of desperation that I was absolutely willing. And man, within like 90 days of doing that 20 minutes a day, twice a day, I was sitting upright. Crazy. Actually, I grew half an inch from meditating.
Right.
From holding my spine straight,
Oh, it feels so good. Yeah. I find myself in class doing that a lot too. Whenever I'm on a computer, I just... Yeah.
Sometimes my shitty back doesn't let me do that.
Yeah, I feel you.
I'm hunched over. I've got, some back damage. But daily struggle, daily work.
That was a great point, and that's something I do want to bring up. And I think it even might be backed by data, and I'd love to get Mike Salonius on here to talk about it, but I'm sure you could give a little light to it as well. I definitely noticed within 90 days of maintaining some form of meditation a gigantic impact. A gigantic, marked improvement on how my brain was functioning, how I was looking at my life, like starting to escape this kind of. I always call it a cave. I felt like in my mind I could envision this dream where I was sitting outside of this cave daily, or I'd visit it every single day. It was this dark cave in the side of this like rainforest type mountain, and I'd look in this cave and I knew what was inside that cave. It was darkness. It was emptiness. It was my death. It was my peril. And I was obsessed with it. I'd walk to that cave every single day, and I would sit in front of it, and I would wonder if today was the day. And as soon as I started meditating, I started to notice myself visiting that cave and then only staying for like 45 minutes and then walking away. Mm-hmm. And then soon enough, it came to the point where on my path, it was never me walking towards that cave again.
Have you ever tried not to be high? You ever smoked pot and tried not to be high?
It's the worst.
So
it's the worst.
To me, that's what it felt like coming out of the haze and coming into the present. And sometimes it still does. Where, for me, I mean, I know you had a good experience with cannabis. I never did.
No, I'm not saying I did. Oh, you're saying ever.
Ever.
Never
ever. Always made me paranoid
Right.
and crazy and slow. Almost.
There was like a 7-month period where it was good for me, and then after that, it just went right back to it.
It never
again.
worked, so I tried it like 850 more times to see if it would do something good for me. And whenever I would get high, I would try really hard to come out of it because I'd be like, oh my God, I hate this. What's going on? I don't like this. And I would be able to come focus for a second, and then I would just sink back into it.
Right.
And and I'd come out. And that's what coming out of the past was like for me. And, it still kind of is, but I get a lot more time present today.
Yeah.
Than I did 3 years ago when I started meditating. And it takes 10 years of constant meditation for the swollen ass amygdala to return to the size of an almond, how it's supposed to be.
Right.
And unfortunately, most of us in today's modern culture have a swollen amygdala that's stuck on fight, flight, or freeze a majority of the time.
Absolutely. Well, look at all the fear campaign we have just constantly bombarding us.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that we are constantly living outside looking for that missing piece of the puzzle to fill us up.
Mm-hmm.
And just everything we talked about earlier, like chasing these dreams, never living in the now.
When you were talking about the future a minute ago, and there is a massive awakening happening right now.
For sure.
Among people. And I believe within our lifetime that we're going to see massive improvement in humanity. I really do. We have reached the pinnacle of technology. I mean, I'm sure we'll do more.
Absolutely.
But, I mean, the amount of technological advancement that's happened in the last 100 years is just completely mind-blowing.
Absolutely.
Completely mind-blowing.
I tried to fathom that.
Yeah.
It's insane to think about.
Absolutely. And
think about how much more we know about the universe.
Oh, yeah. And we'll continue to know more, but there's been this rapid push for technology. And technology for the sake of technology is...
I agree.
Yeah, not so good.
Right.
But now we have all these tools at our disposal, and we have information. We have the ability to share information around the world in real time. Facebook Live.
Right.
Holy shit. We get to see what's happening. I mean, it's behind the lens.
Right.
There's always ways to use tricks and that type of stuff, and there's always going to be misinformation.
For sure.
But we have the ability to share information with the whole world in real time.
Right.
And I know that for myself, and you can think I'm crazy or not, that when I'm deep in meditation, I'm sharing information with the collective in real time. If you want to call it the Force or God, or, the universe, or Jesus Christ, or Buddhism, or whatever. I feel the world. I feel the whole thing when I'm deep in that present space, all the way down in my gut. And so not only do we have the ability to do that, but we have the ability to do that on an outside level, utilizing other tools. And there's just no way that we can't get better. There's no way. We always strive to get better. Humanity, that's part of our basic drive, is we want to improve.
Right. It's a genetic thing. It's a cellular thing for us to want to evolve.
Absolutely.
And that's what I call it, this is the stage of evolution.
And we're not apex predators, man. Like, the reason that we're alive and the saber-toothed tiger is dead is because we share information. We're prey animals. We really are, dude. I mean, you put me or you up against a bear.
Right.
We might think we're super badass, but the bear's probably going to win.
For sure.
I
like to think of it as a mix. And I think that there's certain people and certain soul types that possess different types of characteristics as to whether or not they'd be a prey animal or not. But I think we could associate it. Well, you're right though in an instant, or for part of it too.
You put
because
any of those prey animals with no weapons up against a chimpanzee that wants to kill him, your theory's busted.
I agree, but I think we're talking genetic and I think we're just talking genetic strengths as well.
We share information. That's our strength.
For sure. Well, I think we're very much similar to, which is a prey animal, which is also a great part of Sparta, is the horses. They are prey animals, but they also have a pecking order and a hierarchy and the ability to do such things.
But they can't write books and pass down information.
Oh, absolutely.
Therefore, they're still in corrals.
Oh, absolutely.
And we're going on a space shuttle to the moon.
For sure. For sure. I hope to go to space one day. That'd be cool. It'd be kind of nice. Maybe.
I don't know.
I know. A lot of people are scared by that.
I'm not scared. I just, there's nothing up there, man. It's cold. There's no air.
You wouldn't want to see Earth from space.
I saw it on TV, man. That's good enough.
I definitely dig it, man.
I like being on the ground.
Yeah, maybe like when I'm older, like really old, like 120.
Yeah.
I'll go up into space and be like, all right, cool.
You're going to be like that little old man on The Little Prince.
Hopefully I won't be that old, though.
Yeah.
I think that we're going to see some pretty remarkable technology come up, too, where we slow down the deterioration of DNA and cellular stuff, and we have the ability to rebuild. And
I want to get old.
It's not to say that you won't get old, but
yeah,
we'll
I want this body to
be
used the fuck up when it's time for me to die. I want to live to my natural lifespan, about 75. Yeah. And I want this body to be wasted and me to be ready just to go, because I lived so much and I just abused the shit out of this thing. And, you know.
I'm just also celebrating some of the technology that I think we'll face and see, especially when it comes to like proper eating and learning more and more about our biology.
I'm open to it.
Hey, man, you talk about Sparta right now. Do it.
So, Sparta is an anonymous program for veterans.
Oh, we're talking about that one.
Yes.
Okay, I was trying to keep it secret.
It's okay. I'm not identifying as a member of it.
Oh.
Yeah. But Sparta is a 12-step fellowship for vets and also for people who have put themselves in harm's way to defend their community. So, we meet at Rooted Kava Bar in Hillcrest in San Diego, 1731 University Avenue, Monday at 2200.
Yeah, 22.
Yeah, 10 o'clock p.m. And then I wasn't sure if it was 10 or 10:30. It's 10.
Yeah.
We get there early though. And then on Thursday at 17:30, 5:30. So you can DM me SMH if you want info on that. And then the Sparta Project, I believe, is what you wanted to talk about, which is a...
Do you want to talk about that?
Fuck
I'm not
yeah, I want to
talk
talk
about it.
Yeah. I actually want to put a link up at the bottom of this video for people to donate to the Sparta
that'd be great.
Project.
Absolutely.
Underfunded, underdog, super badass organization. Shannon Price, Phil Folsom,
Right.
Dr. Mike Salonius, facilitators of the program. What are they called? Is that what they're called? What are they called?
Sparta Project?
No. They're called the... They're not instructors. There's some other word for it. I don't remember. The staff, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's a 5-day initiation process where the hero's journey is visited. The story of Iron John is told. We do a ropes course. We do ceremony for the dead. We walk a labyrinth in and walk a labyrinth out. We don't do war stories, but we do pre-trauma. The only time we'll ever have to really talk about the past is from 0 to 18. And the program is just incredible. The difference that I see happen in people's lives from something so simple as taking them out of where they are, like we used to do in the old days before Mesopotamia.
So this is the direction I want to go. Let's talk about initiation.
Yeah. So
what is initiation? What do you mean by that? Why is it important?
Because it's how boys become men. We don't get the opportunity in today's culture to be initiated into manhood and to be given a proper process, a proper transitional object to mark the difference between no pubes and pubes, pretty much. Right?
Right.
And
you're about to have this amazing hormone pumped through your vein called testosterone. It's a hard horse to tame.
It is.
So
yeah, we call it ADD
here you go.
or something.
Yeah,
ADHD.
here you go. Just go out in the world. Fuck
Good
that
luck.
shit.
Have fun. Go.
You're gonna want to fuck everything. You're gonna want to fight everything.
Yeah.
You're gonna want to beat everybody up and be a dick. Here, just don't worry about it.
So I'll quote a bunch of Dr. Mike right now. So boys are not meant to be raised by women and other children.
Right.
Right.
Or flies and twos.
Boys it's not ADD, dude. It's not fucking ADD. It's called being a boy. We're crazy. We're out of control. We're destructive.
Absolutely.
I mean, you got to think. Most things on the planet are feminine, and you throw this masculine energy in there, it destroys.
Right.
Right. So, what happens without initiation, and I'll go into real quick what the requirements are for initiation, as I understand them, is that we get 2 archetypes of boys in adult bodies. One is the aggressive asshole, who's the homophobic, racist douchebag, jock, just me.
Me.
Yeah. And the other one, is the pussy, no testosterone, no drive, no fight,
Right.
Hideout nerd, and neither one of those is an accurate depiction of a man.
Right.
There is a huge difference between ferocity and aggression. There is a giant amount of difference between cowardice and compassion and tenderness. And we don't give our young boys the opportunity to develop a healthy picture of what a man is. And it ain't John Wayne. Definitely ain't John Wayne. And it's not, I don't know who the candy-ass hero is. Morrissey, I guess. I don't know.
Who?
Morrissey? The Smiths? You probably never heard of him.
No.
Yeah, it figures. Okay, you're listening to the Smiths after this. So, the requirements for initiation are that the person be taken out of whatever their living environment is, that they're held in a sacred space, in a place that's held sacred in some way, that's guided by elders, teachers, instructors, whatever, and that is a closed container, meaning there is some level of separation held during the process, and that they face their death, and that they're given some form of transitional object to show that they completed, and that's it. And it's that fucking simple. And the change that happens in a man when they finally receive that is beyond. It, totally, completely incredible. And it's that fucking simple. It's all we need to do.
Right.
So we're doing it. And it is not an easy thing to do. We find that although a lot of people say they care about veterans, most people just don't give a shit.
Right.
It's
They're
nice
for the wrong
to
reasons.
buy a flag sticker or a support our troops sticker, or a veteran gave his breath. Take a veteran if you read this in English.
Yeah, right.
Or whatever, or to say. It's really easy to say, but when it comes down to actually providing,
Right.
From the mouth of somebody who's experienced it, I know people know who have gone, and to get something like that funded is incredibly difficult.
Right.
So it will happen.
We are definitely stuck in that mindset in this culture, in this society, to throw the easiest way to promote the most for other people's egos. Does that make any sense where I'm going with
Yes,
that?
and we also...
No one really wants to get to the root causes or fix any of the things. They don't really want to put the work into it. They just want to throw pills and Band-Aids.
And culturally, we are stuck on creating the smallest impact for the largest amount of people instead of creating the biggest impact for the smallest amount of people.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, that's like what Hitler would do. Hitler promoted the big picture over the individual happiness, right?
Right.
So if we can put together $800 million and give every veteran a blanket,
Right.
fuck
Great
you.
work.
Yeah, you just
Great
wasted
work.
$8 million.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Where if we could raise $30,000 and change 12 lives forever, that's a no-brainer. Because those 12 lives that you have changed will in turn go out and change hundreds more.
For sure.
And those hundreds they change will change thousands more. I was listening to a speech the other day with Eddie, and this general was talking to a graduating class at West Point, and he said, if you can positively affect 10 people, there's 800 people here. If you can positively affect 10 people and get those people to go out and positively affect 10 more in their lives, you will change the world within 8 years. I mean,
Yeah.
the whole world.
Right. Makes sense.
So, the individual, look within. Large groups of people don't change the world. It's always one person. It's always one person. So we need to empower the one person.
For sure. Absolutely.
Did I go off in too far of a tangent?
No?
SpartaProject.org. TheSpartaProject.org. Donate. We are making real difference.
Absolutely.
So that is for the initiation process. Sparta 12-step is self-supporting. It just, they happen to have the same name. I know it's a little confusing.
Yeah.
But there was some shenanigans happening a few years ago.
That was fun to deal with.
Yeah, we got through it.
Yeah, absolutely.
TheSpartaProject.org. Share, donate, make some shit happen.
Please and thank you.
Please and thank you.
We will add that
Yeah,
link to the bottom here for people to see on Facebook Live, and I'll add that to my podcast as well so that people can get it. And hopefully I'd love to have Mike Salonius come on here as well and talk a little bit more about the effects of meditation.
Good luck.
This is me like on air pummeling him into
We're gonna
submission.
fucking kick your ass if you don't get over here. All right.
Come talk about meditation. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, shit. Well, great
thank you
podcast.
guys
Yeah, there you go.
for coming in and hanging out with us. You guys are fucking awesome.
He's talking to his Facebook Live feed to other people.
Oh, hi. You guys too. I love you guys. And let's change the world, man.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Well, that'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
Number 3. Hopefully this reaches some people. Changing one person.
All right.
Everybody, take care. Follow, share, like. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, wait. Before I hang up on this one, we're supposed to how do they like and follow your podcast?
Okay, so please go to The War Within on YouTube. That's one word. Go to the War Within podcast page on Facebook. I'm going to be posting all the podcasts up there as well.
Are you the only one?
I'm the only one. The War Within podcast.
So the War Within podcast, one word?
That's different words. They're separate words.
So
The War Within is on YouTube, one word. All the rest of it, The War Within podcast on Facebook is 4 words.
Okay.
So you'll be able to find that.
Cool.
Like I said, like and share.
We'll
Share
put it in
is
the
most
description
important.
too.
Yeah, great.
Okay. All right. Bye, guys.
Take care.